15 or 16 years ago, I remember my brother and I sat in front of the PlayStation, taking turns playing GTA 3, because there was no multiplayer, and that was the closest that you could get to playing with each other at the time. Like the original Mario, when you said 1 or 2 players, but it really didn't mean 1 or 2 players. You just fucking took turns to keep track of score. But I still remember saying out loud something that was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could, if we like just each be playing and then just be able to roll up on each other and then help each other out or fuck with each other, just whatever else we were doing, and then just go back to our business. Like, to me, that was the ideal multiplayer experience. Like, other people were there. The game universe was populated by intelligent life, not just NPCs and not just other people, but the competition or cooperation between players, it wasn't the sole focus of the game. It was just a feature, an ingredient in a recipe, another element of the universe of the game. So, like 16 years later, No Man's Sky Next finally almost satisfies that experience. Like, yeah, I'd prefer a persistent online universe with thousands of players instead of servers of 4, but the game already pushes the PlayStation to its limits, obviously, so I can't ask for much more than that. Anyways, No Man's Sky Next is it's pretty fucking great, which isn't to say that it's without its flaws, because holy shit does it have its flaws, but it's a lot easier to look past those flaws when you're engaging with a gameplay experience that you've basically wanted for over a decade, which is what I've been doing. And for simplicity's sake, I think I'm going to refer to No Man's Sky Next as just No Man's Sky, because the previous iteration was just clearly not the version that Hello Games had envisioned. This update brings the universe much closer to that vision. Their whole shtick is that No Man's Sky offers an infinite universe with endless possibilities, right? You can play however you want, is what a lot of game developers have been trying to sell you in the past, and they very, very, very often fail. A game will just say, like, hey, you can build or trade or fight or whatever, it's totally up to you, but we all know that 99% of the time, it's just the best approach is just to fight shit. Combat. Inevitably, every game boils down to focusing on combat, because it's the easiest way to make a game. Just scale up every enemy's health and damage, give the player slightly better equipment as they progress, and boom, that's it. You got a game there. Done. It's like, from a design perspective, it's much harder to engage people with trading and exploration, and up until Minecraft came out, building. There had never been a good formula for those elements, but I'm happy to say that No Man's Sky succeeds in that area. Exploring is fun. Trading, earning a profit, it's fun, just as a standalone thing to do in the game. Building, I mean, I'm burnt out on building shit in games, but I guess it's pretty fun. And combat, well, to be honest, I really don't know. In No Man's Sky, I've barely combated anything. With most games, that's always your first concern. But in No Man's Sky, I'm like 10 hours in. I've barely chosen any weapon upgrades or anything, because I just don't find myself fighting often enough to justify the inventory space for weapon upgrades. Like how often can you say that in a game? Like, not having the inventory space for the better weapon. So, I just want to give you an example of what the gameplay is like, because, that's what people are here for. So I'm playing No Man's Sky with 3 friends, right? And all of us have had a moment where we've spoke of, like, an obvious experience that we had within the game that the others just hadn't had yet, apparently, because that's just not the path they chose. For example, one friend had lamented about his freighter not having enough success in its expeditions, and I was like, what the fuck? You can get a freighter? Like, 10 hours into the game, and that's just not an avenue that I had explored. It is actually one of the main storylines, and you do find it, kind of early if you decide to take that path and do that quest, but I just hadn't done that particular quest yet. It just wasn't what naturally drew me in. I spend most of my time mapping individual planets and finding ruins and excavating shit. My other friend, he's more focused on, like, bounding through space, covering as many systems as possible, trying to find space stations, new upgrades to his equipment and his exosuit and stuff like that. So we've got 3 people, right? Like a fleet admiral, I guess like me, our cartographer, and an explorer, all sharing a universe and relaying our cool experiences with one another. That's cool as shit. And what makes No Man's Sky cool and unique is that none of these paths is the best way to play. You know, we're not choosing them as a suboptimal route because you just want to unlock content like you're forced to do in so many games. Each path rewards you in different ways, from money to upgrades to structure unlocks, and each way is a legitimate way to progress in the game. Whatever that means. It feels like progression anyway. And that, you know, they heavily imply that your eventual goal is to get to the center of the galaxy, but you know, it's not very pressing, and you don't really know how to accomplish that at first. So you just kind of end up doing what feels natural. And because there is no best way to the center, you know, you can find portals on planets, like what I've been doing. You can find black holes in space, like what my explorer friend has been doing, or just upgrade your ship to warp faster, which my admiral friend has been doing. Each person really does get to craft their own experience. So, like I said, I'm finding it really difficult to relay what all you can expect when you sit down and play this game. Like, I know that's why people watch these videos, but the truth is, I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is my personal experience with it. So, mapping planets, my personal experience, it's pretty cool. I like it. I actually like the survival aspects of roaming around each planet, foraging for materials to upkeep my life support system, taking shelter during storms, finding outposts and ruins, and discovering new biomes that offer resources in different amounts, all that shit. This is, I think, also the path that really rewards building, thanks to how they find, how you find salvaged upgrade modules, which is basically how you buy new recipes for your base. But I just, not super interested in building stuff, so I'm kind of doing the bare minimum there. Space exploration is cool. You come across different star systems, each with its own economy and prices, run by different races whose reputation can be raised or lowered to take on various missions, from scanning life forms to raiding supply depots. This is where, you know, you end up fighting a lot of space battles against, like, pirates and getting bounties and shit like that. Fleet construction is pretty cool. You focus on hiring and upgrading as many ships as you can to send them on expeditions to make money, discover rare shit. You find yourself in a lot of space battles, and your time is spent doing repairs or upgrades. So, like, you know, these are the three paths that I've personally been exposed to in No Man's Sky. There's probably more. And the fact that you can all be doing this at the same time, in the same game, reaping the benefits and sharing them with each other is really cool. It's just really fucking cool. I'm really enjoying it. But I have to stop my gushing there, because the game is, of course, not perfect. The downside of trying to revolutionize the gameplay experience is that you're developing in unknown territory, which means, you know, there's gonna be bugs. Lots and lots of bugs. In fact, if you have a low tolerance for bugs, you just shouldn't play this game. You should not touch it. It is so fucking buggy. Like, ranging from little things, you know, like typos in the tooltips. This is supposed to say hyperdrive, you know, not hype drive, unless that's a reference to the game before release. Like, half the NPCs still have placeholder text, broken quests that you can, like, never abandon or complete. Let me give you an example. I was minding my own business, and I got disconnected. I logged back on outside my ship for some reason, which is weird, because it should be impossible to be in space without a ship, and I fell, which is also weird in space, because, you know, gravity. And then I died, losing all the items on my body, which was a lot. Now, that alone is bad enough, but it also appears to have broken one of my quests. Like, I had a mission to go to my base computer, but when I died, it suddenly started pointing to the random spot in space that I died at, saying that was the base computer, which I couldn't fucking use because I couldn't get out of my ship to use it. And then when I went to use my actual base computer, it just didn't fucking work. So, not great. Not a great bug. And now that quest, it was just permanently fucked, as far as I can tell. Luckily, it wasn't like a main quest, so I don't have to start a new game, but I can't abandon it, so it's like a side main quest. I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Furthermore, I can't help but wonder what Hello Games was thinking when they chose what should happen to you if you find yourself without a ship in space. It's clearly not supposed to happen according to the game's design. You can't just pop your hatch and get out wherever. You have to land in specific places, and then there's, like, invisible walls preventing you from getting out into open space. So basically, it was like a conscious choice for Hello Games that if you ever find yourself glitched out into space, you don't get to teleport to your last space station or anything. You just die. You just fucking die. Like, hey, we know you didn't do this on purpose, but fuck you. Lose 2 hours of work. So Yeah, so sadly that's not my only instant death glitch either. You probably run into a new bug about once an hour. It's it's honestly pretty fucking nasty, but I don't blame them for wanting to focus on content before stability, given the game's reputation just after launch. But I'd hope for, at least from this point going forward, Hello Games puts a heavier emphasis on stability and bug fixes, because once the novelty of the gameplay wears off and you're hoping for more longevity, that's when stability is going to make a hell of a lot more of a difference. In fact, one of the friends I was telling you about almost rage quit already, because he basically spent his life savings on trade items in one system to craft into something else and sell in another system, but he glitched out and died in a spot where he couldn't lose his corpse, and he just basically almost lost his entire life savings in the game. He solved that problem by fucking unplugging his PlayStation before the autosave feature could kick in. So, I mean, that shouldn't be a thing that you have to do to work around glitches, but it just fucking is. So until they fix that, it's kind of fucked. Yeah, there really shouldn't be that much of a penalty for dying, and there definitely should not be a hardcore mode, because I just wouldn't fucking touch it with a 10-foot pole. But bugs aren't the only downside to No Man's Sky. I do think that the space combat is overly simplistic. It'd be cooler, and I think easy to implement if the random encounters were a little more than just the player versus a handful of other fighters. It's you just run into the same shit over and over again. It gets repetitive. There's missions where you need to attack freighters and stuff, but if you spend a lot of time in space, you're basically forced to do the same fight just dozens of times in each city. It gets really old. And if the cops of the universe, basically the Sentinels is what they're called, if they attack you in deep space, it's frustrating as hell, because they never let up and you can't, like, warp away from them. So if they outgun you or something, you just need to crawl to the nearest planet or space station and lose them that way. Although, in this particular instance I'm showing you, you could call it a bug, because I'm so not focused on combat in my game that I would just never start a fight with these guys, but I kind of got forced into it by logging into a multiplayer session with another player who had already pissed them off, and then I got pissed off by they got pissed off at me by proxy. So not ideal. So other than that, the structures, like the space stations, the outposts on planets, the ruins, they're all pretty repetitive, at least visually. They do offer different things once you explore them most of the time, but for each ecosystem being so diverse, you would think that there would be more than 3 types of building. Like, there's already an option to upload your base to their servers. I don't know why Hello Games couldn't take these tens of thousands of player-built designs and add them to the library of randomly generated structures. Even if they just have, one employee curating that list, it would add a literal fuck ton of diversity to the game with so little effort that it's pretty laughable. So, last but not least, combat really isn't fun. I mean, there's really not that many enemies. The Sentinels, a floating robot, a dog, and a mech. That's what combat is. And then there's the Zerg aliens. That's pretty much it. That's everything that you're going to be fighting. So, like, the game already has quite a few races, each with different sets of appearances, so you could have them be the enemies every once in a while. Give them different shields and weapons like the player has and stuff, just diversity out of nowhere. Again, so there's a lot of opportunity for diversity as far as pre-existing game asset goes, but it's just not really being capitalized on. So that's kind of why I'm not so much focused on combat, is because it's not really all that rewarding. So, that's relatively small things in the scheme of things, I think. All in all, I think that No Man's Sky is worth playing now, thanks to the next update. So, if you have friends and fucked up and bought it on PS4 already, you'd probably have a better time relenting and also buying it for the PS4, because having people to play it with just makes it infinitely better. But if it's a toss-up for you and you've got a decent gaming rig on PC, you should probably just get it for PC, because, better performance and stability and, like, trying to mine stuff, accuracy. My accuracy with joystick sucks, as I'm sure you can tell watching this footage. I really like the game. I really do recommend it, even though it's got some obvious flaws.